History was made at the Camp Nou tonight, but not the kind of history that Culés wanted. We're talking red cards, controversy, and history repeating itself for Barcelona in the worst way. Welcome to episode 803 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Dan Hilton, and a big thank you, as always, to the massive amount of people that joined me on BigUp.com for that watch along today and play the prediction game. Yes, it was a frustrating day. Yes, it was a loss, but I think, yes, there was positivity. Yes, there was negativity, and I hope there's more positivity coming up this weekend, Saturday against Espanyol in the league, and then, of course, Tuesday for that return leg, where, again, there's going to be a lot of hope needed. Also, a big thank you to everybody that helps me out on Patreon, on the merch store, on the podcast apps, and of course, those who are still waiting, and I appreciate your patience on that 100,000 subscriber stream. I will be having that live on YouTube that will take us into likely a big match here as we wean down the remaining weeks of the season. So again, subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss out on that. Now, here they are, the 5 headlines from Barcelona's 2-0 loss to Atletico Madrid in leg 1 of the Champions League quarterfinals. Headline 1, Rashford relatively close. Hansi Flick to start this one. I thought it was going to be Lewandowski, and it was. We knew it wasn't going to be Ferran Torres. But as far as the other two guys, to start with Lamine Yamal in that front four, I thought it was going to be Fermin. I thought Dani Olmo would jump to the bench for this one, or Dani Olmo would be on the left wing, or it would be Rashford. That would have put Dani Olmo on the bench. But no, it was Fermin on the bench, and I think his yellow had a lot to do with this. So Dani Olmo gets to start as the number 10, and it's Rashford on that left wing. So again, when you think about the yellow to Fermin, it made a whole lot of sense. To start this match, I think people didn't like Barcelona's intensity, but I didn't understand what they were seeing. In the second minute, Atleti were getting into their shape, and Rashford got a shot off. And then the fourth minute, it's almost a mistake by Atleti playing out of the back, but Rashford takes his shot into Musso. These are two half chances that, now that we see the big picture, Rashford, he was relatively close in this game, but that was not close enough. You got to put these chances not only on frame, which is what he did. They were on target, but you got to put them in the back of the net. I did say, though, that Rashford was my concern as far as his pressure leading into this game. All the time he'd be off the ball, and that actually wasn't a problem. I thought his pressure today was really important for Barcelona, and clearly he received the message from Hansi Flick. On the other side, Alvarez had a chance. And Lamine Yamal, I guess I'll say the only two bad things about him today, they came in the first 7 minutes when he underhit 2 diagonals after dribbling past Rigetti twice. But after that moment, really, it was the 2 underhit balls, was really on torrid form with everything but that final ball and everything but the final shot. Lamine Yamal, good on him after this moment. Koke, this is not going to be the last time I say his name. He deserved an early yellow on Olmo, got his last warning 9 minutes into this game. And again, in hindsight, this should have been his first yellow, and the second one should have been his second. In the 10th minute, it's not bad from Cancelo to get by Simeone and a shot into Musso. Cancelo, along with Lamine Yamal and Olmo, I've already named Barcelona's 3, I'm going to say, positive players from this match. And other than that, I think everybody definitely had some big moments or poor moments that they can't really cover themselves with glory. But as far as the 3 guys that I don't necessarily put a ton of blame on today, again, it's going to be Lamine Yamal, Olmo, and Cancelo. 14th minute, it's another decent chance for Rashford, and I reiterate, he was relatively close, but close enough is not a goal. When it comes to sleep, I have tried everything, and some of the best improvements that I have seen are thanks to today's sponsor, Manta Sleep. Those who've been with me a while know I've been searching far and wide for sponsors and products that I actually use, and Manta Sleep is one that I do actually use myself. I was always pretty anti-nap, but as my schedule gets crazier, I'm definitely starting to warm up to them, and Manta Sleep's pro-nap movement is a part of that. Don't mind the jump scare or see me without my glasses. I know that's actually how I have to sleep. I don't sleep with them, but I just want to show you that the masks are super comfortable. They fit any size, head, and the eye cups here, they wind up perfectly fitting on any size eye holes, if you want to call them. And because I am a side sleeper, because of all of my nose issues, again, they do not affect side sleepers at all. And this one is the exact one I use every night. It's the Manta Pro Sleep Mask. So I just want to show everybody again how they fit any head size. They're perfectly adjustable. And I am often working on 5 headlines deep into the night. So I turn to the Manta blue light blocking glasses to help transition me into bedtime. And so I hope I can transition all of you over to get a 10% discount on all of the Manta Sleep products using the code TBPOD. That's TBPOD. And you can either do that by following the link down in the description or the show notes to help me out, or you can just use that promo code at checkout on their website. Again, thanks so much to today's sponsor, Manta Sleep. Headline 2 is Koke On a yellow. Let's talk about, unfortunately, the offside goal. It's an easy call for the referee and the line judge in the 18th minute. It's clearly offside from Barcelona. Pedri, the through ball to Lamine Yamal, and yeah, he was standing offside. FIFA goal to Rashford, but it's taken off the board. 27th minute, Barcelona still on the front foot, though. Tons of passes in possession for the Blaugrana. It ends in a cross from Koundé that's headed away, and it's an unlucky bounce off Rashford. And on that play, Hansko also lands awkwardly, and he's gone by the 30th minute. That's going to be a big loss if he can't return for the second leg for Atleti. He's replaced then by Pubil, who I guess wasn't ready to start fitness-wise, but he was thrown in. And he also picked up a yellow in this game, so he will also, with Hansko, miss that second leg. Pedri also on this play in build-up got a yellow, likely for protesting too much. I know he had the captain's armband, but he must have said something to the referee, and he gets a yellow, I think, for dissent going in the book here. Shortly thereafter, Koke does go into the book this time for a tackle on Olmo, which 10 times out of 10 is definitely a yellow. Lamine Yamal, after that, goes on a dribble and beats 4 guys, but the final shot is blocked. This one would have been an all-time goal. It would have flipped this tie completely on its head, and things don't end the way they did if Lamine Yamal winds up finding the back of the net here, but he did, again, everything but put the ball in the back of the net on that night. Headline 3, history repeats itself. I try my best when calls, as people say, unfairly went against Barcelona. If I find that they were fair on the ref, I try to call those out. So I can say things like this. This red card on Cubarsí was absolute bullshit. Very rarely do I get to use the bleep, but yeah, this was bullshit. However, what led to it? Well, this is a problem for Barcelona. Marc Bernal, I said he was missing, and it wasn't just on the goal scoring, but on set pieces, both offensively, being a goal-scoring threat with his size, but also his rest defense to keep that ball in. That is the slight difference. I thought Eric Garcia did fine as a midfielder. Now we can talk about him as a defender today. Not so great in the second half. But in the first half, I thought Eric, as a midfielder, did fine. But his rest defense on set pieces, he just doesn't have the same body that Marc Bernal does, and here was the problem. Barcelona got on the press after their own corner, but Atleti break through that press. They go to the far sideline, that being Barcelona's left side, and they get through. It's Simeone getting goal side of Cubarsí, and the initial yellow gets a VAR red check. Somehow, Simeone kicks Cubarsí. He does. Simeone kicks his leg back behind Cubarsí because the ball to Simeone is behind him. And it's Cubarsí who gets the red for denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. That is why the red comes. It's a denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. But this is terrible. Simeone did not have control over the ball, and Simeone is the one who created the contact. Even though on the line, Cubarsí was coming through Simeone's path, it's Simeone who creates that contact with his back leg because the ball was behind him. This is not a red to me. This is a yellow. Because the ball was behind him, this is not a denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. So even on the contact, if you give a yellow, sure, I'll concede it's a yellow. But again, I do not think this is a denial of a goal-scoring opportunity, and this should not have been a red. And where the referee is going to get bit on this is the same referee who officiated the 4-1 loss against PSG, with Araujo sending off in 2024, and also the 1-1 draw against Napoli in 2022. But the bigger picture too, Barcelona have become the team with the most red cards in the Champions League in the last 10 seasons with 12. In the last 3 seasons alone, it has been Ronald Araujo, of course, in 2024 against PSG. It has been Pau Cubarsí this season against Benfica. It has been Pau Cubarsí against Atletico Madrid. And of course, PSG and today with Atleti coming in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Yeah, this is frustrating because for the game that Barcelona had, you can say that Cubarsí deserved a yellow, but the fact that Koke is still on the field, and then I know that each action is supposed to be independent, but the way this game is being called, that is a yellow, not a red. So I reiterate for a third time, I think that's a bit of bullshit. And what that meant is that maybe Alvarez does score this free kick even if it's a yellow, but the ball is placed down, there's a wall in front of him, and this is just class from Julian Alvarez on the free kick, over the wall, and then perfectly placed where Joan Garcia couldn't reach it. Maybe another reason why Barcelona want to bring that guy in, but unfortunately, it's a double whammy. It's a red card, and then it's an immediate goal for Atletico Madrid right before the half. Headline 4, fighting with 10. At halftime, Hansi Flick had to make some changes. He pulls Pedri, hopefully just because of the yellow, and Lewandowski, because again, you don't need a forward, you need a center back. And instead of putting a center back on, it's Eric Garcia who moves back to center back, and then it's Gavi coming in at the double pivot spot with Fermin coming on to the left wing. Rashford moves over to the middle. In the 50th minute, Cancelo stepping into the middle. I thought Cancelo had a pretty good game, both defensively and offensively, and he drives forward. Koke doesn't want the second yellow, so he doesn't pull him back. Lamine Yamal's Trivela into Rashford. His touch rounds the keeper, but he can't get it back on frame, man. If that is on target, you might even get a rebound there with other players crashing into the box. Really unfortunate 53rd minute, Lamine Yamal gets fouled outside the box. Rashford's free kick is touched by Musso. Another, again, so close, not even relatively close. Inches away for Rashford that time. In another moment of controversy now, Marc Pubil, who's already on a yellow, does not get a second yellow for touching the ball in the box. This would have been a penalty as well. It would have been a second yellow and a penalty. It's a huge moment. And the argument that even the guys in the CBS Sports studio were talking about with Micah Richards and Thierry Henry saying he disagreed. Hansi Flick also in the postgame with Guy Balaga also disagreed. He thought this should have been a second yellow. But those on the opposite side of the argument are saying that it is common sense versus the rule of law. Because nobody on Barcelona was pressing, it was intent. Then Marc Pubil wasn't necessarily putting it back in play. It was resetting. So based on intent, it's common sense that this should be fine. But again, it goes against the rule of the law, that if you do that, then it's a second yellow. So that's a matter of, on offsides, we say, well, rule of the law always says, even by a fingernail, you're offside. So if that's rule of the law, then why is this one of those interpreted common sense kind of rules? I don't know, but I know Hansi Flick was fired up about this. And this is one that Kool-Aid's have a really good point about. But those who don't like Barcelona are certainly going to all take the opposite argument. 59th minute, Barcelona still not done yet, though. Corner from the Blaugrana. Gabi, Koundé, Olmo were all so close, but that ball was also tough, bouncing in from the corner. Koke then and Lookman off for Solaf and Baena. And after that, Gabi picked up a yellow after Lamine Yamal gets walled off Baena. And I'm not arguing this Gabi yellow. This is clearly a yellow for Gabi. But this is the moment, too, where all those numbers start to add up, and it feels pretty nasty going Barcelona's way. It's 6 fouls for Barcelona in the game. They got 2 yellows and a red from 6 fouls. 17 fouls from Atleti and only 3 yellows. Some of those yellows they didn't get was, again, the Koke, who didn't get a second yellow for a foul on Pedri, or the first yellow on that foul from Olmo. And Pubil, as I mentioned, also didn't get a second yellow. Simeone also got away with one. So yeah, no yellows for any of the Atleti players that, other than Marc Pubil, who did pick up a first yellow. He will be missing that next match. But Barcelona on the other side will also be missing Cubarsí. It just felt like Atleti were allowed to play the way that they wanted to play, and Barcelona were punished in the same instances. Headline 5-2 makes it tough. And this is where the comeback for Barcelona in the tie got a little more difficult. In the 70th minute, Sorloth, who had just come on, scores. Barcelona were complaining on the other side. This is something that I think Hansi Flick was frustrated about his team and warned them of in pregame. I thought they did a pretty good job of keeping their heads on in the first half, but that frustration was all building up in the second. And while a bunch of different players were complaining for handballs, for fouls, all those different things, they get caught in transition for the only time in the game. Atleti comes down Koundé's side. Eric Garcia, the center back, trying to come over. Rigetti gets to the goal line. Eric doesn't stop the cross. And so that gets in front of Gerard Martin. So mistakes by Eric and Gerard Martin here on the goal defensively. And he finishes the cross one time. Now Barcelona down 2-0. Right after that, 73rd minute, Hansi Flick doesn't want things to get worse. So it's Araujo in for Koundé and Torres in for Rashford. 79th minute, Cancelo got another run into the box, stays on his feet, wins the corner. Maybe he should have gone down there, but the way the ref was calling it, hey, Lamine Yamal, he kept saying get up to him. I feel like Cancelo would have got the same treatment. He would have said get up. Lamine Yamal shot then after that, blocked by Musso. 80th minute, Nico Gonzalez and Almada on for Griezmann and Simeone. For Griezmann, that is his swan song at the Camp Nou. So goodbye to Griezmann. And he didn't really do too much in this match. And yeah, we talked plenty about his legacy over on Jeremy's podcast, on the Atleti podcast with Diego yesterday. I talked about it on the watch along. So yeah, for all the Griezmann thoughts, I've got that somewhere else. 85th minute, Lamine Yamal with another outrageous dribble into the box. Atleti doesn't foul and just dribbles him to the goal line, but this is still incredible stuff from Lamine Yamal. 86th minute, Balde makes his return in for Cancelo. And the last chance to mention in this game, Olmo to Araujo, back to Olmo. Araujo's best ball in a long time, but nothing comes of it. For Diego Simeone, here's your history. It's his first win at the Camp Nou in 14 years. 14 years of trying, I should say. He had never beaten Barcelona at the Camp Nou. February of 2006 was the last time Atleti beat Barcelona at the Camp Nou. So history was made today for Atleti, and they will rightly, for them, celebrate this one. For those who are wondering, is a remontada possible? Let me give you some history on that. Barcelona has overcome 5 of the 12 Champions League ties in which they have come back from a minimum deficit of 2 goals in the return leg. They did it in the semifinals against Würzburg in 86. They did it against Dynamo in the first round in 94. They did it in 2000 in the round of 16 against Chelsea. They did it against Milan in the quarterfinals in 2013. And of course, they did it against PSG in 2017 in the round of 16. The other history that goes against Barcelona, though, only one team out of 38 has managed to overcome a two-legged tie in the Champions League after losing the first leg at home by a 2-goal margin. I know it's a lot of caveats, but all you need to know, if you go at home and you get your butt kicked and you're down by 2 goals, it's really, really hard to come back. Only one out of 38 teams have done that, and it was Manchester United against PSG in 2019. Marcus Rashford, the hero in stoppage time in that tie. Marcus Rashford, with the fitness of Rafinha, he won't be ready for the second leg. He's maybe going to have to be the hero again. He'll certainly play in that one, and he's going to have to be a major protagonist at the Wanda Metropolitano. That, again, I will break down more for you between Espanyol and, of course, next week's second leg. Yeah, 2-0. Didn't work out in Barcelona's favor. I still believe, I still have some hope. I wouldn't call it a full miracle, but yeah, Barcelona are going to have to give everything they can, and I totally understand why people are going to be frustrated this week when it's all this talk about remontada. It shouldn't have to be that talk again, but boy, did nothing go right. I know it's a double negative, but nothing went right for Barcelona here in the first leg in another quarterfinal of the Champions League. So I feel it, Kool-Aids, and I will talk to you very, very soon. And until then, Forza Barca.